Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Yorkshire once again, and we've got another brewery who I've never tried anything from, so quite looking forward to this actually. This was another recommendation from Ben at the Hop Knocker in Durham. I'll put their Facebook link in the description below, but they've pointed me in the direction of some really good beers, so I'm sure this one will be the same. We're going to go to a little town called Malton, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, which is to the east of York itself, and we're having a taste of my first beer from Brass Castle Brewery. So this one is called the Disruptor. It's a New England style IPA and it comes in at 7.4% ABV. Quite interesting artwork on this one. I hope it doesn't give the camera an epileptic seizure or something like that. You know, I remember when you used to watch the old CRT TVs and the patterns like this would just make it go a little bit crazy. I always found that quite funny. So this beer kind of the artwork on this beer reminded me of that a little bit. But it should be a really interesting beer. This one, as I say, recommended to me by the guys at Hop Knocker, and they've pointed me in the direction of some good beers before. Maybe Stuart Pickard from Ginger Ale Ale Trail or Rob from Hopscene have reviewed some beers from this brewery. So this is my first time trying a beer from these guys, but I'm sure it'll be quite an interesting one. So I hope you guys enjoy my take on it. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll hopefully do in the future from Brass Castle Brewery. Very first time trying one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then about Brass Castle Brewery. So Brass Castle Brewery, as I mentioned to you, are based in Malton in Yorkshire, and they were founded back in 2011 by Phil Saltonstall. So apparently Phil and his wife Harry are both from Beverley in Yorkshire, but they were working together at the United Nations in New York when Phil started helping out at a brewery in Princeton, and this got Phil really interested in brewing his own beers, and he started home brewing in their garage when they lived in Pocklington, which I believe is back in Yorkshire as well. But originally they brewed their beers when they started up the company. They originally brewed them up on the Victorian kit at the Lord Halifax estate, but after Phil resigned from his job in the Coast Guard in 2013, he had actually previously been a naval pilot from what I understand, but the brewery moved to a larger site at Yokersgate in Malton, which is still the brewery's home today, and now they also have a tap room at that site as well. But in 2016, Phil and his wife moved to Boston in the US after his wife was appointed to work at the UK Consul General covering the New England area. But Phil's now running an import-export business for the beer between New England and Yorkshire, so apparently some of the real kind of rare New England kegs and things that end up in the UK, they come through his business, and he exports quite a bit of Yorkshire beer over to America as well. But the brewery name Brass Castle apparently comes from the stretch of Market Street where they actually lived as well, so it was the Brass Castle area. I'm not sure, it didn't actually say on the website what town that was from what I remember, but it is named after a bit of the market area where they used to live. But apparently all the beers from this brewery are vegan friendly. They have made a real focus on that. It was saying in the article that I read that it was from, I think, February 2018, but over the following 6 months they did plan to spend £200,000 on getting their own lab equipment to vegan certify their beers. They were doing it through Brew Lab in Sunderland before, so these guys are a vegan friendly brewery. I'm not sure what percentage of craft breweries are vegan friendly, of course, but yeah, no, it's quite an interesting one. They basically said that they wanted to include pretty much everyone in their drinking, so it's quite a cool concept actually, and hopefully more breweries can kind of follow through with that. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery, so let's get on to the actual tasting of the beer itself. I'll put the brewery website and Facebook page and stuff in the description for you below, and you can check that out for yourself. So yeah, there you can see, nicely presented beer, this one. As I say, I hope it doesn't give the camera an epileptic seizure, and from the camera control that I've got down here, it seems to be doing okay. There you can see on the side there, New England style IPA, this one at Disruptor. Yeah, it doesn't tell you what hops and things are in this one, but we can maybe figure out or take a guess at a few from the taste. As you can see, there's the symbols on the beer, the vegan friendly one, 7.4% New England style IPA. So yeah, should be a really nice beer. Let's get it open and we'll get on with the tasting then. Looking forward to this. A little bit of a smoky opening there, and we'll get it out and into the glass. There we are. So as you can see, and as you would expect from an IPA. It's pouring a nice kind of bright goldeny orange colour. It looks really, really nice. So yeah, I would say, if I hold this up to the light, it's more of a yellowy orange colour, this one, and you can smell it. It smells really, really juicy from just opening up the can. There's a solid finger of a frothy, I would say kind of creamy coloured head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, you know, pretty much as you would expect from the New England style IPA. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see the beer isn't really transparent at all. There's a little bit of transparency to it, but not too much. But yeah, nice looking beer, this one, pretty much as you would expect. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this. Ooh, that smells really interesting actually. So yeah, with this one then, there's definitely, it's quite a tropical fruit note that's coming out of this one. I do wonder if there's a bit of New Zealand hop in there actually, just because of the way the juiciness is coming out of the beer. But I reckon definitely there's a bit of mango. Yeah, definitely a bit of mango. I think there's maybe some mosaic in here as well, because it's got a little bit of the tangerine orange note, but then it's got some of the sort of blueberry characteristics as well. There's almost a little touch of a kind of red fruity note to it as well, which is kind of interesting. Like melon or something like that. Yeah, it's quite an interesting one. I do think there's some citra in here. There's definitely mangoes. I think a little bit of passion fruit as well. Definitely has a nice little bit of passion fruit. That could be Simcoe, or of course it could be like Galaxy from Australia as well. Those are the two hops that could be, I reckon. But yeah, I think there has to be some citra or something very similar to that. There's definitely mangoes in here. There's maybe a little bit of pineapple or something as well. Pineapple, you know, that can usually come from El Dorado, but there are a few other hops that the names don't come to me at the moment. It can give you pineapple. You know, it could be Azaka or something, who knows. It's always fun to guess the hops when you're not quite sure, but in terms of the aroma, we won't spend too long on that. I think, you know, mangoes, a little bit of passion fruit. There's definitely some kind of tangerine or orangey quality to this beer. I think there's a little bit of blueberry in there as well, which makes me wonder if there's mosaic in this one. I think there's a little bit of a kind of red fruity quality to it as well. I'm not sure, like melon or something. It's not quite, the melon hop that you normally get is Styrian Wolf from Slovenia. It's a lovely, lovely hop that, but only produced in very small quantities. But yeah, it smells really nice, this beer. It definitely leans towards that nice, juicy, fruity side of things. So, a little bit of floral aromaticity to this one. Nice little bit of a kind of grassy hop as well, which is interesting. Some sort of wheaty, bready malt base to it, a little bit of the creamy oats, and you can get a bit of that kind of sweet, biscuity note from it as well. But you know, it smells pretty much as you would expect a New England IPA to. The malt base is a little bit muted. It does lean a little bit more towards the kind of fruity, juicy side of things, but overall, you know, pretty much what you'd expect. So let's have a taste of this beer then. So this one is the Disruptor New England style IPA at 7.4% from Brass Castle Brewery in Malton in Yorkshire. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, that's a nice beer, that. I will say straight up, that's a good beer. See, it has the New England flavour to it, but in terms of its mouthfeel, I reckon the mouthfeel is a little bit more West Coasty, and I have to admit, I do like that balance. Like, I like the New England flavour with a kind of creamy, oaty sort of malt base to it. But I have to admit, when it comes to the IPAs in that regard, I do like them to have a little bit more of that kind of oily character that you get from the West Coast IPAs. Almost a little bit more German or Czech in their mouthfeels, if that makes sense. I always found the West Coast IPAs, they've got a little bit of that sort of German Dunkel, Helles type oiliness to them, which is cool, and I do like that. This one kind of finds that sort of happy medium in terms of its mouthfeel, but in terms of flavour, it's really, really nice as well. But yeah, that's a good beer. So malt base then, we'll start off with that. The malt base in this one, you can feel the malt base, the sort of wheaty, bready quality, that just goes right across the middle of your palate there. It's got that nice kind of bready base to it. I'm guessing when it's a vegan friendly beer, I'm thinking about gluten free. I was going to say I don't think it will have wheat in the malt base if it's a gluten free beer, but it's not gluten free, it's vegan free. But yeah, you can get that nice kind of wheaty, white bready quality. That just goes right across the middle of your palate there. On top of that, you start in the middle of your tongue, you start to feel the kind of oaty creaminess to the beer, and then you've got that kind of sweet, slightly sweeter biscuity note. It reminds me of the kind of, it's almost like that kind of, it's not quite corn syrup, but that sort of flavour that you get from McVitie's digestives. It has a little bit of that as the flavour kind of matures on your palate a wee bit. Yeah, I would stick with that. You can definitely feel the biscuit kind of as it moving out towards the edge of your tongue, which is really, really nice. I like how everything in this beer is so well balanced. This beer is definitely one where it's all about how these kind of flavours go together, but it's a really easy drinker. In terms of an IPA, you know, you can get IPAs down at 6%, so this one isn't too far away from starting to move into the double IPA category, which I think is around 8%, but it's a really quite nice beer, this one. So definitely, if you get the chance to have a go at this, have a go at it for yourself and see what you think. Pretty damn good, I have to say. So in terms of the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, there's a teeny little bit of earthiness there, but not very much at all. As you come further forward, you can feel a little bit of that kind of slightly spicy floral aromaticity coming out of the beer. Then as you go round the front curve of the palate, it just becomes a little bit lighter and more grassy. And of course, when you go behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that little oily bubble where those nice kind of fruity, juicy esters start to come out of the beer, which is nice. But yeah, it's an interesting one, this. The fruit definitely leans towards the nice kind of juicy side of things. I would say in terms of IBUs, this beer really isn't all that high at all. You know, it's maybe around, I would reckon that it must only be about 30 IBUs, something like that. It's really not got so much of a bitter bite to it. The floral character is just kind of nice. But it's a superbly easy drinker, I would definitely say that about it. In terms of the fruity qualities then, I would say I think there's a bit of passion fruit to this beer. Yeah, I think there's a bit of passion fruit to this one. There's maybe a little bit of mango, but not all that much. Some sort of orangey quality in there as well. There's a lot more fruit coming out of the aroma in this one than there is in the flavour, I would say. That the aroma has a lot more complexity to the fruity side of things than the taste does. But as you move further into the aftertaste, you know, it's a little bit of a kind of berryish red fruit kind of thing that's coming off this one. Yeah, I would say definitely a little bit of passion fruit. There's maybe a wee touch of kind of grapefruit in there or something like that. It's almost got a little bit of a kind of, there's maybe a little touch of a peachy flavour in here as well, which is kind of interesting. As you go further into the aftertaste, you get a little bit of an apricot-y note and maybe a little touch of like a kind of berryish note, maybe a blueberry. I do wonder if there's a bit of mosaic in this, just going by the flavour. But it's a nice beer, that, I mean, in terms of the flavour, everything goes together really well, and I like how they've kind of balanced that kind of New England style flavour with the more kind of West Coast kind of California type mouthfeel, if you like. But they've done a good job of that. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again, and I would be quite keen, pardon me, to try some of the other beers that these guys do. It'd be cool to try something from the dark side of the spectrum, you know, a stout or a porter or something like that, and also to try one of their West Coast IPAs as well, to see how that compares to this one. But overall, it is a really quite nice beer, and I'm glad that I got to try this actually. It is pretty damn nice, I have to say. So well done to the guys at Brass Castle for this. In terms of the mouthfeel then, like I said, for me the mouthfeel of this beer is a little bit more like a West Coast IPA. I would say it's mid-bodied. Carbonation is quite smooth on this one. It leans towards the kind of oily side of things in terms of its mouthfeel. There's a little bit of hoppy bitterness to this one, but it's by no means is this beer going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs. There's a bit of sweetness to the malt base, but overall it is just quite a smooth malt base, and there's a lot of nice kind of juicy fruit quality to it as well, which is interesting. But overall, yeah, a really nice beer. It's all about how the flavours kind of blend together. It takes that New England kind of flavour of the beer and mixes it with a kind of West Coast mouthfeel, if that makes sense. But a really, really nice beer, and I'm certainly glad that I got to try this one. So yeah, let's leave it at that. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Brass Castle Brewery as well. Hopefully I can review some more from them in the fairly near future. Check out all my social media and these things. You'll find all the links in the description below. But make sure you try some of these Brass Castle beers, because I get the impression that these guys are a pretty good brewery. As I say, I was recommended by Ben, and you know, he always points me in the direction of some good beer. So I'm really glad that I got to review this one, and it's definitely a good beer. So check this beer out and check out some of their other stuff as well. So this was the Disruptor from the Brass Castle Brewery in Malton in Yorkshire. A really interesting New England IPA. Very drinkable for 7.4%, but it takes the West Coast mouthfeel and combines the sort of New England style flavour, which I think is really good. But until the next time, stand you just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Skål.